My brother didn't lower his voice when he said it. So, still jobless? He laughed, leaning back in his chair like he'd just delivered the punchline of the night. The table burst into laughter. My parents smiled awkwardly. My uncles shook their heads. Someone muttered, "Kids these days." Even the waiters nearby slowed down, pretending not to listen. I looked down at my plate and took a calm breath. Because this wasn't new. For as long as I could remember, my family had decided my life didn't look successful enough to respect. I didn't post office selfies. I didn't talk about promotions. I didn't wear company badges or complain about bosses at dinner. So in their eyes, I was unemployed. The truth was simpler and far more dangerous. I wasn't jobless. I was owner. But that night wasn't about correcting them. It was my brother's birthday dinner, hosted at a high-end restaurant downtown. He worked there, well, for them. Mid-level management. Proud of it. He loved reminding everyone he ran the place. I'd been invited last minute. A courtesy seat. "So what do you do all day?" my cousin asked, grinning. "Sleep?" More laughter. I wiped my mouth with my napkin and said nothing. My brother raised his glass. "Hey, at least being jobless gives you free time, right? You should thank us for feeding you tonight." That one stung. Not because it was clever, but because they believed it. What they didn't know was that the restaurant we were sitting in, every chair, every light, every smiling employee, was part of a portfolio I controlled. 6 months earlier, my investment group had quietly acquired the parent company. No press. No announcements. Just signatures, board votes, and structural changes. And tonight? I wasn't here as family. I was here because the regional director had asked me to review operations discreetly. My brother had no idea. Neither did the people laughing. The server approached with the check, placing it near my brother. "Put it on my card," he said loudly, smirking at me. "Unless Jobless here wants to contribute." I reached into my pocket, not for my wallet, but my phone. "I'll take care of it," I said. The table went quiet for half a second, then exploded again. "Sure you will," my brother said. "With what?" I smiled faintly and stood up. "Excuse me for a moment." Confused looks followed me as I walked toward the front desk. The manager recognized me instantly, straightened, nodded, whispered something to the staff. Within seconds, the atmosphere shifted. Employees stiffened. Radios crackled. The regional director stepped out from the back, eyes wide. "Good evening," he said carefully. "I didn't realize you were dining tonight." I glanced back at my table, at my brother mid-laugh, at my parents frozen mid-smile. "I was invited," I replied. "But I think it's time we talk." The director nodded and turned to the floor staff. "Please gather management." My brother stood halfway out of his chair. "What's going on?" I looked at him then, really looked. Still smiling. Still confident. Still calling me jobless. That was about to end. Because sometimes, the cruelest jokes are told in rooms where the truth hasn't spoken yet. And in just a few minutes, it would. The laughter at my table died first. Then the music softened. Conversations around us slowed, as if the entire restaurant sensed something was wrong. The regional director stood beside me, posture stiff. "We'll start immediately," he said. My brother laughed nervously. "Start what?" I didn't answer him. I turned to the director. "Bring me the management list." Within moments, 3 managers appeared, faces tight, eyes darting between me and the director. They knew exactly who I was. I recognized 2 of them from reports. One from a compliance issue that had been buried. Another from a harassment complaint quietly settled. I opened my phone and scrolled. "Tableside service violations," I said calmly. Ignored staff complaints. Inflated numbers during audits. My brother's smile vanished. "What is this?" he demanded. "Why are you?" I raised one hand. "Please," I said softly. "Let me finish." The room had gone completely silent now. Nearby diners stared openly. Servers stood frozen, trays hovering midair. I turned to the first manager. "You're terminated, effective immediately." The words landed heavy. The second manager paled. "There must be some mistake." "There isn't," I replied. "Your access is already revoked." The third tried to speak. I shook my head. "Security will escort you out." My brother stood up fully now, voice sharp. "You can't do this. This is my workplace." I finally looked at him. "No," I said. "It was." His mouth opened. Closed. I turned back to the director. "Include him." The director hesitated only a second before nodding. My brother's face drained of color. "Wait, what?" I leaned closer so only he could hear me. "Being cruel is optional," I said. "You chose it." My parents stood up, panicked. "This is a misunderstanding," my mother said. "He's just joking." I met her eyes. Jokes reveal belief. Security approached. My brother's voice cracked. "You can't fire me, I didn't do anything." I straightened. "You abused staff. You humiliated people. And tonight, you embarrassed the company." The director handed him a termination letter. The same people who had laughed minutes earlier now avoided eye contact. My brother was escorted out, still protesting. I returned to the table, picked up my coat, and placed my card down. "Dinner's covered," I said. "Consider it severance." No one laughed this time. As I walked toward the exit, the director followed. "Do you want to address the room?" I shook my head. "No," I said. "They've heard enough." Because sometimes the most powerful response to mockery isn't anger. It's consequences. I didn't stay to watch the aftermath. By the time I reached my car, my phone was already vibrating, missed calls, messages piling up faster than I could read them. My brother. My parents. Numbers I didn't recognize. I drove. Not away from the problem, but away from the noise. The next morning, the official emails went out. Terminations confirmed. Interim management appointed. An internal memo reminded staff that professionalism wasn't optional, it was policy. I read the replies calmly. Some shocked. Some relieved. A few quietly grateful. One message stood out. A server I barely remembered. "Thank you. No one ever listened before." That was enough. Later that day, my mother called again. This time, I answered. "How could you do that to your own brother?" she demanded. I waited until she finished. "He did it to himself." "You humiliated him." "He humiliated others every day," I said. "I just stopped pretending not to see it." She cried. Said I'd gone too far. Said family should protect each other. I listened. Then replied, "Family shouldn't be your shield from consequences." The line went quiet. My brother never called again. Weeks passed. The restaurant stabilized. Staff turnover dropped. Complaints disappeared. Profits rose. Funny how respect changes performance. At the next board meeting, the regional director thanked me. "You handled that decisively." I nodded. It needed to be done. He hesitated. Most people wouldn't have acted so publicly. I thought of the laughter. The word jobless. The certainty with which they dismissed me. Most people, I said, aren't used to being underestimated. I didn't lose my family that night. I lost the illusion that silence was kindness. Some bridges aren't burned, they collapse under their own weight. And when people mock you from a place of assumed power, sometimes the strongest response is letting them learn exactly how wrong they were.